chapter, Fridays, the first one that we're doing in November. I'm Miss Karen, the children's librarian at the Oakmont Carnegie Library. And this month I'm going to be focusing on food, family, and being thankful because we've got Thanksgiving this month, of course. Today's book is called All Four Stars. And this is book number 1 in a trilogy. The second one is called The Stars of Summer, and book number 3 is Stars So Sweet. So check them out at oakmontlibrary.org. Gladys Gatsby has been cooking gourmet dishes since the age of 7, only her fast food-loving parents have no idea. Now she's 11, and after a crème brûlée accident, Gladys is cut off from the kitchen. She's devastated, but soon finds just the right opportunity. In order to meet her deadline, though, and keep her dream job, she must cook her way into the heart of her 6th grade archenemy and sneak into New York City, all while keeping her identity a secret. So, let's read the first chapter. As you can see, I brought a couple of my friends to listen. These are some of my Thanksgiving friends. Turkey and Bear. And they love when I cook in the kitchen because it smells great. All Four Stars, Chapter 1. So you can see Chapter 1 is called A Great Big Fat Amount of Trouble. Gladys Gatsby stood at the counter with a spout of her father's heavy blowtorch poised over the ceramic cup. Her finger hovered over the trigger button that was supposed to turn her plain little custards into crunchy, tasty treats. That's when she heard a car door slam outside. She froze for a second, but then checked the clock. It was 5:16, still a good 44 minutes before her parents were due home from work. And they were never early. It's probably just the neighbors, she told herself, and turned back to her project. Gladys knew her torch wasn't the right kind for making desserts. It was a lot bigger than the one pictured in her cookbook, for starters, plus there was that huge, danger, extremely flammable label on its side. But she never abandoned a cooking experiment just because her parents didn't have the right kitchen equipment. Just last week, she rolled out pie dough with the stick of a broken umbrella, and it turned out great. Still, she thought as she repositioned the torch's nozzle, it would have been nice if they'd given me the mini torch that I wanted for my 11th birthday instead of that stupid tablet computer. But they hadn't, so she was stuck with this old clunker from the garage. Oh well, she thought, and crossing her toes for good luck inside her sneakers, her hands were full, she took a deep breath and pulled the trigger. Several things happened at once. With a pop, a blue flame, quite a few inches longer than she'd expected, shot out of the blowtorch, passing clear over the far edge of the first custard cup. With a whoosh, the wintry wind outside changed direction and began to blow in through the kitchen windows, setting the gauzy blue and white curtains aflutter. There's foreshadowing. And with a jingle and a grinding noise and finally a click, someone turned a key in the Gatsby's front door. Who do you think it is? A moment later, she heard her parents' footsteps in the hall. "Gladdy," her dad called, "we've got pizza." Fudge, the Gladys thought. She tried to release the trigger on the blowtorch, but to her horror, the spout kept shooting flame. She pumped it desperately with her finger, but that only seemed to make the flame bigger. Their footsteps were getting louder. Gripping the torch firmly, Gladys did her best to direct the now enormous flame off the countertop and back over the cluster of custards. The tops turned brown from the heat almost immediately. She pumped the trigger again and miraculously this time heard a click as it released against her finger. The long blue flames started to retreat back into the torch's nozzle. Thank goodness. But then, at that exact moment, her mom and dad stepped into the kitchen, the exact moment that Gladys was about to spin around and explain that she had the situation perfectly under control. The fluttering kitchen curtains crossed paths with the dying blowtorch flame and promptly caught on fire. The flames couldn't have traveled up the blue and white fabric faster if it had been soaked in gasoline. Gladys staggered backward, and in an instant, her whole secret cooking life flashed before her eyes. She saw herself as a little kid playing chef by mixing things in the giant ceramic bowl her parents had received as housewarming present and never used. She saw herself reading her first cookbook at the age of 8 and riding home from her first solo trip to Mr. Ng's Gourmet Grocery, her bike basket stuffed with ingredients for pasta primavera. 9, 10, 11, she saw herself stewing tomatoes and steaming mussels, tossing spring salads and grilling steaks, rolling her own sushi and whipping her own whipped cream. She saw herself opening windows to air out the smell of her cooking and taking out trash bags full of eggshells and vegetable peels. She saw herself stashing leftovers in the rusty old fridge in the garage that no one else used anymore, judging from the contents. It was during one of those garage trips that she had first noticed the blowtorch, neglected in the corner. The sound of the smoke alarm shocked Gladys back to the present. Her dad's briefcase clattered to the floor as he grabbed her arm and dragged her away from the window. Her mom's hair flew out of its bun as she ripped the fire extinguisher from the wall. White powder filled the air all around them as she sprayed the kitchen, and Gladys knew one thing for sure. Today would not be remembered as the day that she proved what a great cook she was and earned more kitchen privileges. No, today would be forever the day that Gladys Gatsby set the house on fire, and if her family survived, the day she got into a great, big, fat amount of trouble. So, I will feature some other fun books related to cooking. If you stop by the library and set up a browsing appointment, I have a really fun cooking and a cookbook display. So, thanks for watching this week, and we'll see you next week for some more fun.